We're going to be doing a quick overview of spreadsheets today. So what exactly is a spreadsheet? It's an electronic document in which data is arranged in rows and columns of a grid and can be manipulated and used in calculations. And I've colored this in red to emphasize its use in calculations. This is not just a place where you enter in data and create a list. You can use it for so much more. It is extremely powerful. Examples of spreadsheets could be Microsoft Excel, which is what I'm using here, and Google Sheets. Both work. You will find that some functionality is there in Excel, which isn't always in Google Sheets. Quite simply, Excel is more powerful. It runs on your computer, but when you're trying to do things collaboratively, Google Sheets can be another excellent option. A cell is an intersection between a row and a column on a spreadsheet. So let's take a look at what that means. If I were to select here, what is exactly the cell? Well, if we take a look, that intersection is this is the column and this here is the row. So this would be identified as B3. That's what we call a cell reference. A cell range will end up having a group of cells. So if we were to select here, well, we'll take a look at that in the next tab, but we would identify this based upon B3 all the way to C6. And we're looking at these columns and these rows. The active cell is the one that has been selected. So right now, active cells by default are colored in green. The formula bar is what we see up here. The formula bar will end up showing us what's actually inside of a cell and possibly the calculations that we're doing. We can also extend this downwards to see if there's more than just what's actually shown in a small line. So let's just take an example. Here, we're looking at a formula bar, and it says 1 plus 1. This is doing a calculation of adding 1 plus 1, and what we see here is the value 2. Hence, whenever we do calculations in a spreadsheet, we should see the values spit out after it does the calculations. There's also sheet tabs. So even though this is one spreadsheet, we've also got these tabs at the bottom, which we can do more with. So here, I've got cell references just as a quick little run through. This here is represented by B4, as it's in column B and 4. So the cell reference would be considered B4. When we talk about a range of cells, we talk about, or we'll define it as the top left all the way to the bottom right. So this, we take a look at this, this would be represented as B6, and down here, this would be represented as D8. If we're talking about a range of cells, we end up separating them by a colon. So the range would be represented as B6 colon D8. So the whole set of cells would be represented, or range of cells would be represented by this little part here. Just to emphasize this, how does this actually work? Well, let's just throw some numbers in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm not going to put in 9, but what I will show you is, as we select these cells, down here, Excel has a strong ability to automatically count the number of cells selected that are not empty and the sum of these numbers. So right now I've selected 9 cells, but in fact it doesn't count this one because it's empty, hence why it's counting 8. The average, it will already calculate the average and the sum. Now, I'm not expecting that you're going to get all of this all in one go, but just to jump forward a little bit, I'm going to show you the summation formula. And the importance here is not about how to input a formula, but about how we showed that this is B6 to D8. We're not going to be adding things up using a calculator. This spreadsheet automatically does it for us using the functions. And that's what we're going to be learning, is how to use Microsoft Excel to format things as well as complete actions, or calculations. Here's a simple example of something that you might encounter in the real world. The name of an employee, the hours worked, the wages, and the pay. Now, often I see students coming in and doing Excel sheets, and I see them punching away at their calculator, and I'm sitting there going, man, they didn't realize the power of Excel. So I'm here to emphasize that to you. So let's just say we look here at the formula bars. This is not numbers. We're not using numbers up here. Sure, we could go off here and say equal to 30 times 14.75, and we get the right answer. But what happens if we made a mistake in Amber's hours, and in fact it was 32? If we change this to 32, what happens? Notice here that it updated the pay. And that's because we used the cell references to calculate the pay and not the actual numbers. Over here, the number is incorrect, and we'd have to do all the work again. Imagine doing this for hundreds of employees. That would take a long time. I hope you realized by the end of this that you've got an overall idea of what spreadsheets do. They allow us to put in a whole bunch of data and do calculations. And if we do it properly and use cell references, they can update things. Maybe we got our wage wrong. Again, everything gets automatically updated in terms of a calculation. That's it for now on an overview of Microsoft Spreadsheets or spreadsheets in general. I hope you've enjoyed.